And it's just a huge honor for me today to be podcast interviewing Steve Laskarides.
You got it.
Did I say that Greek name right?
You sure did.
Laskarides. Yeah. And he's with Visiting Angels. He's the owner and executive director of Visiting Angels Home Care serving Ahwatukee. He has 20, 30, 40 clients in Ahwatukee. He has gone from 20 years of experience as an engineer and engineering manager working in the high-tech semiconductor industry to owning a home care company. One may wonder, how does that happen? How do you go from being an engineer to running a home care company? Steve has passion to ensure the welfare and safety of others. Steve started out his previous career as an engineer responsible for $100 million worth of equipment and loved every minute of it. But after about 5 years and suffering from some serious tunnel vision, Steve decided to do more and more important work more closely with others. As a young engineer, Steve started down a leadership path and quickly became a group leader and manager of up to 25 people. He loved helping his employees both professionally and personally. The majority of Steve's employees worked in the manufacturing environment, and early on, a few of his employees were hurt on the job. Luckily, nothing too serious, but this kept Steve up at night. In engineering, you are following the same procedures and checklists on a weekly, sometimes daily basis. If one person got hurt following a procedure, the likelihood that someone else could get hurt was high. To address this, Steve developed a proactive safety program that determined when and where the next injury would occur before it happened, and then systematically remove that potential. This effectively eliminated injuries for his team. It worked so well that it was disseminated to his department of about 500 people. That worked so well, it was disseminated to his factory, 3,000 people. That worked so well, it was disseminated to the entire campus of 6,000 people. That worked so well, it was disseminated to the corporation worldwide. Keeping people safe and saving lives is what Steve enjoyed the most during his previous career. Steve realized that caring for others was his passion and calling in life. Even though Steve had a great career, he planned to officially retire at the earliest opportunity to start his next chapter in life, which would have occurred when he reached 49 and a half, but an opportunity presented itself to retire about 5 years earlier than planned, and Steve seized it, and he's very happy that he did. Steve has a great business sense and entrepreneurial spirit. Steve always knew that he wanted to get into senior care in some way, be it starting a home group, investing in an assisted living facility, or home care. After much research, Steve chose home care and Visiting Angels as one of the best. With this, Steve gets to continue to keep people safe and improve their well-being. He still gets to help employees develop in their careers and personal lives, and he gets to exercise his business acumen and entrepreneurship. It's what he was meant to do. Steve is highly active in our local senior and business communities. Steve is an active board member of the Senior Advocacy Group of Ahwatukee. Steve sponsors local church events, donations to local churches, and he is a member of the Ahwatukee Chamber of Commerce. Gosh, what an exciting story.
Thank you.
I called you. You didn't call me. I wanted to get you on the show. What are you doing in Ahwatukee?
So with Visiting Angels, we provide non-medical home care services. So we come into your home, and actually, when I speak about what our services do, I usually tell folks it's a lot easier to tell individuals what we don't do versus what we do. Really, anything that an individual may need. Seniors is the individuals that we mostly cater to, but it could be from anywhere from helping out. Maybe there's a husband and wife pair where the husband has Alzheimer's dementia. And in those cases where a spouse is caring for a loved one, those are typically 24/7 jobs. They really, really are, and very stressful jobs. We come in and provide respite and breaks. So we could come in during the day, evenings, weekends, and we come in and care for that individual. We help with any cleaning that's needed around the home. We change bed linens, vacuuming, mopping, sweeping, things like that. We also handle personal care items, helping with bathing, showering, toileting assistance. Meal preparation, we do that. We learn what our clients love to eat the most, and we will make those meals for them, breakfast, lunch, dinner. And a huge part of what we do is this that compassionate companionship, just providing that one-on-one care. You think about it when you're going to an assisted living facility or something like that you may have a team of different individuals visiting you at all throughout the day. They're just checking on your needs, but with home care, you are getting direct one-on-one support and care. So we come into your home and provide that care. We also provide transportation services if you need some help going to the doctors, picking up groceries at the grocery store, prescriptions at the pharmacy. Really, you make a request, we can pretty much do it. And it's essentially called activities of daily living, just anything that you need assistance with, the kind of things that you may take for granted, but the things that are just absolutely imperative for your day-to-day life, we come in and help with those things.
When I opened up my dental offices 30 years ago, all my friends, all the big news is they're getting married and having babies.
Yeah.
Now, 30 years later, 55, all my friends are losing our parents. I lost my dad, or they're having to find someone to put a nursing home in. And it's a very stressful time of life.
Yeah.
And so many of my friends, I would say, well, maybe you should put them in a nursing home. And they go, I promised my mom I would never do that to her. Mm-hmm. And so it's a stressful time. So what is your average client? I mean, is there any demographics? Are they a certain age?
A lot of it is, we definitely cater to seniors, 65 and older. I would say the majority of our clients are in their 70s, 80s, and 90s. And we're not just isolated to caring for seniors. We have cared for others individuals. For example, I had a 24-year-old that even at that age, she had to go through a hip replacement. And the doctor prescribed that she should not be left alone for a certain duration of time, and we were there helping her out. So we really help anyone in need is what we're here to do. And I'm forgetting the first part of your question. What was it?
I actually can't get a hip. My insurance won't allow a hip replacement. My insurance will just send me to a vet to be put down. So I will never have any of those problems. So they're mostly 70, 80, or 90?
Correct, yeah, in that
or
group.
Post-surgical?
Yes, correct.
You said at the beginning, sometimes it's easier to explain what you don't do than what you do.
Yeah, so we are non-medical, so we don't do anything medically related. So we wouldn't do an IV, for example, things like that. Direct administration of injections, and we don't do things like that. That's typically home health, especially if you're doing it in the home. That's home health and things like that. We wouldn't mow your grass. But some caregivers may be very open to doing that, but that's typically not something that we would do. It's just things like that. But just think of everything else. You just things that you do every day that you may take for granted. Those are things that we help with.
And your website, should they go to visitingangels.com?
Correct. Yes.
Okay. And what are my homies going to find if they go to visitingangels.com?
So you'll go there and you'll find a lot of information about what our services are, a lot more than what I've explained here. There may be you'll also find some great resources. Sometimes if you are one of those individuals that's kind of in this sandwich generation, you have a career, you have children, and you have a aging mother or father, and you're finding yourself, you're caring for your children, you're developing in your career, but at the same time you're also trying to care for your aging parents. And it's a very difficult situation to be in. And we do see a lot of that with respect to helping those type of situations in those families.
You have a really nice YouTube video on there. Do you like that YouTube video? Our national advertising campaigns, the TV, we're on the Hallmark channels, we're on Bravo. Because what we could do, videos. It's only it's only a half-minute video. Why don't you insert that video right now, right?
Caring for people has been a constant theme throughout my life. When I decided on a career with Visiting Angels, it was the best decision I ever made. With Visiting Angels, I know I'll receive the support needed to be the best caregiver I can be. Visiting Angels is not just a job. It's the most rewarding thing I've ever done. My work makes a difference for people who need help living at home. Visiting Angels, America's choice in senior home care.
So tell us some stories in Ahwatukee.
Yep, absolutely.
And for HIPAA, you can't give us their names and addresses, course, but I'm sure we'll...
We take protecting your privacy of paramount importance. It sure is very important to us. So a couple things is one issue that we see here, really it's not just here in Ahwatukee, but it's a common problem, is that individuals are waiting a little too long before they bring on services. And I'm not talking just for us. They're waiting too long before they go see their doctor. They're waiting too long to get additional physical therapy or occupational therapy and things like that. Typically, we get calls from folks that should have probably called us 5 months ago or 3 months ago. One interesting story is, and this is some of the challenges we have sometimes with our senior population, is that I received a call from a concerned daughter for mom, and mom had early Alzheimer's dementia. And this was during summertime where the daughter was able to spend a little more time with mom. And mom loves to cook her breakfast every morning and cook eggs, scrambled eggs on a hot skillet. One morning she witnessed her mother, step back just a second. She would make the scrambled eggs, put it in a plate, take the plate over to her lap and sit down in front of the TV to watch TV while she enjoyed her breakfast. She witnessed her mother carrying this hot skillet over to put it down on her lap to eat breakfast. She just wasn't aware of what she was doing. And the pushback still, even with such clear examples of potential safety concerns in that kind of scenario, is still very prevalent. And we need to, from some of this, from the perspective of our seniors, to be able to help them out, we need to try to convince those seniors and those families that they need help and to get it before a injury or something specifically happens.
Well, that's one of the reasons I'm so glad to start Tukeetown, because, let's just say something really quick happens, like your dad falls down, breaks his hip, needs care. Really smart people on the internet, it's hard to find service here in Ahwatukee.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's hard. I mean, and picking like a nursing home, that's very emotional.
Yeah, it's
I mean, and if you're busy, if you're working 8 to 5 and you got 3 kids in grammar school, after work, are you visiting different nursing homes? It'd be easier just to go to a message board community and say, what's happening right here in Ahwatukee? I don't care about the great nursing home in Glendale or Peoria.
Of course. You want to be
what's
local.
right here in Ahwatukee?
Yep. Great question. Well, there's a lot of resources right here in Ahwatukee. Of course, there are home care services like what we do. There are assisted living facilities. There are memory care facilities. Memory care specifically caters to those with Alzheimer's, dementia. There are several group homes that are available in the Ahwatukee area.
Now, are these group homes they'd just be a residential house? If you drove by, you wouldn't even know it?
You wouldn't even know it. Yeah, there's a lot of those out there.
Now, is this a highly regulated industry?
No, and that's a great question. So one thing that may be really surprising is that in the state of Arizona, there is no licensure requirement to run a home care company. So what that means, any mom and pop can say, hey, you know what, I'm going to start up a home care company and run it off their kitchen table. And that is a significant problem. We've taken on so many clients and even hired their caregivers from some of these mom and pops, and it was just... not to go into too much detail, but just nightmare stories of the experience that the clients had and the experience that the caregivers had. Just absolutely nightmare stories. And a larger, reputable company like Visiting Angels, one of the things that we really pride ourselves on is first and foremost to give extremely high quality care. Now, one thing that is available in Arizona, there's this group called the Arizona In-Home Care Association. And it's ASNAHA for short. And what this group does...
Ryan, can you find that website and text it to me?
So what this group does is they act like as if licensure was in place. And the state loves it because the state now doesn't have to devote resources to governing and putting licensure in place for home care companies. So this group has been out there for 7+ years, and what they make sure that any members of this group that they are meeting extremely high standards of care. When I went through their criteria, their standards that a company must meet in order to get accepted into their group, it's probably 20, 30 items long, and I went through it and was able to check them off relatively quickly, not because they're easy, but because we were already meeting or exceeding those high standards. And this company will only accept members that demonstrate those high standards. And they check. They make sure that you have your bonding insurance. They want to see your declarations for your liability insurance, workman's comp insurance for your employees, and they check your policies and procedures.
Is that the website?
So at this home care, what the ASNAHA does is it acts like as if licensure was in place, and any company that gets accepted into that group, they are able to demonstrate that they provide very high quality. Yep,
that's pretty cool. So for the word "in," they just did the letter "in."
Yeah,
that's pretty damn cool.
Yep.
Arizona In-Home Care Association, Arizona's leading advocate for in-home care, and who's the head of this?
So there are several. It's interesting enough. There's another Visiting Angels owner that covers the Mesa area, and he is one of the founding members of the ASNAHA, of this group. And really, any home care company that you are looking to work with, you want to make sure that they are part of the ASDA, because it's the only way to guarantee that they are meeting very high standards of care for your loved ones.
Give stories of how this would benefit someone in Ahwatukee that as an HA.
Yeah. Well, any home care company that they work with, as I mentioned, some of those mom and pops that maybe they're just not experienced, they're just not doing a good job out there, the quality's not there, that you wouldn't suffer from some of the downfalls that can come from working with.
Well, share some horror stories. You said you didn't want to share any horror stories. Share some horror stories.
Okay.
They may they're not even aware of.
Yeah, I could tell you one. So we had one client come in and say that they were just at wit's end. This individual so desperately needed help. An absolutely wonderful woman. And she was telling me about 3 other companies she worked with, and they were all mom and pops, okay? And she told me that one caregiver was stealing a lot of things from their home. Another one where the caregiver wouldn't show up. This wouldn't show up. They're scheduled, would not show up, and there's no follow-up from the company, nothing like that. And then there were all the things that she wasn't aware of, because what we learned is that those caregivers were actually contractors and not employees. And when they are contractors, a couple of things that some of the concerns with respect to that is that if they're contractors, any liability or workman's comp insurance goes to the person that's getting contracted. And chances are that caregiver is not going to purchase insurances for themselves because it's extremely expensive. So they were at great risk. If something happened, God forbid, if that caregiver was walking up the driveway and fell, they could hold the owner liable. With us, of course, with anyone that their caregivers are actually employees, like they are with Visiting Angels, that they're covered with workman's comp insurance. So you're completely covered in any way you can think of it. So just how the turmoil and the things that individual was going through should have never happened. And when I was sitting across the table talking to her, I was telling her that us just doing our normal everyday job, she's going to have an experience leaps and bounds better than what she had before. And just for us doing our normal good job. And it was just so sad to see what she was going through. It was months of going through different home care companies until she found us. And of course, she's still a great client of ours.
30 years living here in the hood, I've heard real estate people complain that even when they have an open house, strangers are preying on open houses to steal pain medications out of the bathrooms and other stuff. Yeah. And I just heard one story this year that they found out the long-term care person with their mom and dad actually figured out their bank account, their ATM number.
Oh my gosh!
And stole a ton of money.
Oh no!
And so that's
horrible.
So.
Yeah. And those kind of things,
and it's predatory because they're taking advantage of an elderly.
Yeah. Oh, elder abuse, it's a huge issue out there. And that's one of the things the ASNA helps.
All right, listen to this about elder abuse. I don't want you to start beating on your dad.
Yeah, elder abuse is a huge problem out there, especially from a financial perspective. Some of the elderly out there, they are susceptible to scams and frauds that are out there and things like that. They're more susceptible than like you and I, because they could get a call from the IRS, someone acting as the IRS. This is a common scam you may have heard of. It made a lot of news last year, where you get a call from IRS saying that you owe money to us right now. You have to get us to us today, and they're out going to the bank to do a wire transfer to what they thought would be the IRS. Those kind of things. It's just really scary. Some of these things are out there, and you really have to watch out for that.
I had a patient, and it was predatory. She was a recent widow. She was in her 80s.
Yeah.
And this younger man took a liking to her.
Okay.
And as they were dating, he also drained all of her bank accounts.
That's horrible. It's just horrible.
It's predatory behavior.
Yeah, it sure is.
I don't. Is it rude to say it would be easier to do that on an 86-year-old recent widow than a 55-year-old man because she was lonely?
Yeah.
I think there's. Did you read that about UK yesterday that they did a loneliness study and they started a new agency? Did you read about that?
No, not yet.
And the UK realized, oh my God, they only have like 70 million people, but like 13 million of them registered. Mm-hmm. They are very lonely.
Yeah.
And a lot of it's senior citizens living alone.
Yeah. And
that would just make it'd be very sad.
It's tough, and that's one of the passions that we have is we want to help with that. Combating isolation and loneliness is a significant problem, even all over the place, but even right here in Ahwatukee. You think about it, you're getting a little older. Maybe your family doesn't live here in the first place, and your friends may be passing away or moving somewhere else as well. Maybe they're going to move in with family or something like that, and there's on different in a different state, and you'll find yourself alone pretty quickly. That is something that we come in and help with, but there's a lot of things you can do to try to combat isolation and loneliness. One, you have to stay social. Just make it a point. You may not feel comfortable. There's the Pkwy Senior Center right here down 48th. It's just a wonderful.
The Pkwy Senior Center,
Correct.
48th and what?
It's
48th and Pecos?
Yeah. That's on the other.
Ryan,
it's on
can
the
you find a
south
website
side.
to that?
Yep.
Say it again. It's the Pecos.
Yeah, it's a wonderful, wonderful facility. It's actually the community center for Ahwatukee, but the senior center is part of that, and it's there.
Now there's one Ahwatukee Community Center right at 48th and Warner.
Yeah, that's the
McDonald's.
Ahwatukee Recreation Center.
Okay,
That's the ARC.
is that part of this other?
No, they're separate entities.
Okay, and then there's another deal on like Cheyenne, like 48th and Elliott, right across the street from the post office.
No, I'm sorry, that is the ARC. That's the Ahwatukee Recreation Center.
That's Ahwatukee Recreation.
Correct, yes.
So then
And
what's
it's
down
right-
on Pecos?
That's the Pkwy Senior Center.
But are those two centers connected?
No, they're not.
So
but
these
they
are all
do have a
individuals.
lot. They do have a lot of partnerships that they do in between the two.
But that was news to me. I was
yeah.
not aware of any of this. This is so cool.
It's a great facility. It really is. I know the director personally. She's just wonderful.
Who's that?
Very passionate. Lydia. I don't want to give her last name in case she's.
Well, tell her she's invited to the show.
Yeah, all right, I will. That'd be great.
Invite her to the show
have her come
because
in.
it's kind of funny. There's really two Ahwatukees. When I opened my office in 1987, 30 years ago, 48th Street stopped at Ray Road.
Yeah.
And to get to anything in the Foothills would have been a 4-wheel drive excursion and against the law.
Yeah.
And so Ahwatukee was a retirement center.
Yeah.
I mean, it started out Presley Development, a retirement center, and then these people started building houses where you didn't have to be over 55, and then all of a sudden, that's why we're in the Kyrene School District. Because all of a sudden, these kids like, well, we need a school.
Yeah.
Like, well, you better start a school district.
Yeah.
And so if you lived here 87 to 97, you think Ahwatukee is a retirement deal. Now that it's exploded from 25,000 to 80,000. It's a full, there's seniors, there's family, it's apartments, condos. It's a full-blown 80,000 person city.
Sure
and
is.
but there are my heart goes to these retirees because you go within 2 miles in any direction of my dental office. It was all retirees.
Yeah.
And one of the things they don't realize is that a lot of them be here snowbirds.
Yeah,
and they always
there's
thought
a lot of
if I
snowbirds
did
here.
have to go to a nursing home, well, I live in Minnesota, I'd go to one up there. But then you fell and broke your hip while you were down here, and then one thing led to another, and your children were busy, and the next thing you know, you're stuck in a nursing home in Ahwatukee. And then my patients that work in some of these nursing homes, I say, well, what's the hardest part of your job? And usually it's always the same thing. That they can't lift the person who fell down in the shower, and they routinely have to call the fire department to have 4 big busky
guys come in and
because think about lifting up a wet naked
it's
250-pound man. I mean,
it's
and
tough.
you're a 5'2" LPN. But I say, well, what's the most emotional stress? They would say the same thing. They go, when they hear these ladies say, my kids haven't visited me in a year. And they're in there, and I'm sure their kids are busy, or they live in a different state. Money, flights, time goes on, but loneliness is a big issue. And
it sure is.
so this park and recreation thing. So if she wants to come on the show and talk about it,
I'll talk to her about it. She would love to be. I assume she would
Human
love to be here.
Services Senior. So Phoenix.gov is the website, and then the Human Services. But anyway, so talk more about that.
Yep, absolutely. So the Pkwy Senior Center, they have great services there where they do bingo, as you would expect. I'm pretty sure it's Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays.
I'm pretty sure only Catholics play bingo.
Yeah, right.
My 2 older sisters are nuns. The Catholic Church. It's a Catholic thing.
They also do. Have you heard the Wii gaming system where they do Wii bowling? They have several large screen TVs, and every time I'm in there, it seems like they're doing Wii bowling all the time. There's always several groups doing that. They do lunches every day. They even have a service where you can pick up your lunch and take it home, and I think there's even a service where they can bring the lunch to you. There is a very, very small fee to join the Pkwy Senior Center. Hopefully I'm not misquoting this, but I believe it's $20 for the entire year. And then your lunches after that are like $2.50 or something like that. And it's just to get out of the house and get down to the senior center to meet other seniors. Everyone there is so incredibly friendly. So if you are one of those individuals where it's very difficult for family to come visit, friends and neighbors have moved away, etc., that's a way to stay social. And it's so highly encouraged to go do that. It just completely lifts your spirits. If you're in your home 7 days a week, not seeing anyone, that's a very significant problem, and you want to get out there to do that. And there's other things that our community can do. If you have a neighbor or a friend or someone else that your neighbor maybe is a senior individual and their husband passed away a month ago and now they're alone, pay them a visit every once in a while. A quick knock on the door, or just say hello, how are you doing? Even if you're there just for 5 minutes, it's going to really make their day. And I think that's something that the Ahwatukee community can do to get out there and to help some of our seniors combat some of the isolation and loneliness that they're out there feeling. And there's just a lot to do out there, a lot we can do for our seniors out there, that's for sure.
Have you seen some of the research of men do far worse? If you're
Yes.
a man over 65 and your wife dies, half of them die within a year.
Yeah, correct.
And
yeah.
I mean, it was even Richard Nixon, Pat Nixon. I mean, you would think Richard Nixon, he was a lawyer. He used to be the president of the United States. He's probably a busy guy.
Yeah.
But he was old. His wife died.
Yeah.
I mean, so do you... And another cure for loneliness and social is churches are very social. And you work with churches, you sponsor events. Talk about that.
Yeah, absolutely. So we recently sponsored a holiday luncheon at Mountain View Lutheran.
That's my Safeway.
Yeah,
Mountain View Lutheran.
Yep, absolutely. And it was a great event. They had children there playing bells, and they had professional orchestras. I had a pianist and a cellist there playing just beautiful Christmas music. And they had lunch, and we sponsored it, and we were there talking with the seniors there. And there was probably 150 seniors there. So that church, also a lot of the other churches right here locally in Ahwatukee, they is a great resource to get out there. And if you need help going to the church, if you need transportation, maybe you're not able to drive, that's something we can help with. But also, just to note, there are free services out there too that can help with transportation right here in Ahwatukee. Have you ever heard of the YOPIS?
Driverless cars.
No, not that. But we're going to get there. That might be another topic to talk about. YOPIS is a group that is part of the YMCA.
YOPIS?
Yep.
So just
Opus, yep. Just exactly how it sounds.
YOPIS.
Yep. And what they do is it's a completely volunteered, senior-based initiative that's based out of the YMCA. And what they do is they'll provide free rides and transportation for seniors locally right here in Ahwatukee. There are some limits. I think they can only do it twice a week or something like that. But that's an available free resource that you may be able to take advantage of to get yourself to the church or to the Pkwy Senior Center or things like that. Because the common excuse is say, I don't drive, so how am I going to get there? I don't want to bother my son or my daughter to take me. That is a way to do it. And of course, you can always use visiting angels to help out with that as well.
And what was the one I thought it was? Well, first of all, YOPIS, valleymca.org. What was the other one you thought I said?
Well, you started talking about driverless cars.
Well, is that WAPIS or what is that we see here?
Yeah, I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm not sure. I know. I mean, obviously, Google is doing a lot of work there. Tesla, even Intel is doing a lot of work with driverless cars. And that's going to be interesting, and how that's going to change. Waymos. Okay.
Now,
I think I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
I have seen so many. Have you seen any?
I've seen a couple. Yeah.
So what is the watch Waymo self-driving cars show for passengers around Chandler? I've only talked to a couple people that are familiar with it, and they said that the seniors are going to love this because, I mean, when you get to a point where like I don't feel safe driving my car, and now you could just get in your car and say, "Take me to Safeway."
Yeah.
I mean, how cool is that?
Yeah, that's going to be
That's
incredible.
Star Wars stuff.
Yeah, no, it's going to be amazing, and it will change the landscape, and it will make things a lot easier for seniors to get out of their home.
And have you seen any clients use Waymos?
No, not yet. I've seen clients use Uber and Lyft and things like that, but not that yet.
And
Sure,
another
it's coming.
And another thing that's coming. Yeah, there's the car.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So another thing that's I've noticed more and more that I never ever heard of 10, 20 years ago living in Ahwatukee is a lot of seniors having their groceries delivered.
Yeah.
They buy online.
Yeah.
Safeway does it.
Yeah, Safeway does
and then
it.
Amazon just bought Whole Foods, so that should be around the corner.
Yeah. And they do that, and also some clients will use meals. Have full-blown meals prepared and delivered to their homes in addition to groceries. There are lots of great meal delivery services out there. I'm sure you may have heard of some of them, but they're just they work really well. That way, maybe it's difficult for you to make a nice meal, so you can have a meal delivered to your home.
Yeah, when you said you helped them cook meals, I instantly wondered. I wonder if I'd love to see what the average breakfast, lunch, and dinner is. What do the average?
Well, for our seniors,
75, 85-year-old Ahwatukee.
Eggs and fruits is huge.
Eggs and
for
fruits?
breakfast, yeah.
Like what kind of fruits?
Just grapes, cantaloupe, watermelon. You cut up into small portions, and some eggs and fruit, and
the eggs just scrambled, or they
usually scrambled. Yeah.
So scrambled eggs and fruits.
Yeah. Very favorite lunch. It might sound surprising. Is grilled cheese and tomato soup.
Yeah.
It's very commonly requested.
Some things just don't change.
Yeah, really, they don't. And dinners can be anywhere. We have some clients that would love our caregivers to go out and pick up some In-N-Out burger for them. And, of course, we go do that. Or pick up some McDonald's and if they want to splurge or something like that. But dinners, usually a lot of our seniors, they eat lighter during dinner. Maybe they'll eat a little bit more during lunch and breakfast, but a little bit lighter. Again, another a sandwich or something like that. But we prepare full-blown meals. Grilled chicken with broccoli and rice, steak and potato. We do cook full-blown meals, and our clients just love it because they don't get to have that every day.
A lot of people ask me when we launched Tukeetown, they go, "Man, you did a lot of podcasts with a lot of church people." And they said, "Why is that?" And I said, when you start to break apart a community like Ahwatukee, a town of 80,000, what are the social institutions? It's mostly schools and churches.
Yeah.
I mean, businesses to some degree, but I mean, you're not going to change the world at Dairy Queen, Ahwatukee.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But the you're not going to change Ahwatukee at In-N-Out Burger I see, like my own mother. She turns 80 this year.
Okay.
She's got some function at the Catholic Church 4 or 5 times a week.
Okay.
And it's her whole life.
Yeah.
But when you're listening to her talk and her rant, she never has mentioned the Bible, Scripture, this and that. She got to see Mary, and then her and Alice went out for lunch afterwards, and they went and did this, and then they went bowling. But you can just tell that people need social interaction.
Oh my gosh, it will literally keep her alive. It literally will. My mother, she's turning 70 here real soon, and she's active in the Red Hat Society. I don't know if you ever heard of that. It's senior women that get together and they have luncheon groups. They plan trips.
Is that in Ahwatukee?
There is a chapter in Ahwatukee, but I don't think it's very large, unfortunately. My mother's in a different Red Hat Society. It's all over the country. In some locations, it's definitely bigger than others. I don't think it's that large right here.
But I see a lot of the older men doing really well because they're in the Kiwanis.
Yeah,
and they only meet every Tuesday, but it's their deal, and And that's where they met the guy that they might only go to Kiwanis or the Lions Club one day a week.
Yeah.
But now they met a buddy who's now also a recent widow.
Yeah.
And now they're golfing
and
twice
now they're
a week.
bonding.
And now
yeah.
they're going to lunch.
And they find out they live, a couple streets down from each other.
Yeah.
Just getting out there, making some of those connections, especially locally, it literally.
And one thing I liked doing Manila pastors is so they could hear the pastors, because some people, they were say they were raised devout Catholic,
Yeah.
and their spouse is devout Jewish, raised devout Jewish, but both of them are kind of like more spiritual, and they're looking for something else, less dogma or whatever. Some people want the very conservative.
Yeah.
Some people want the liberal, but I think at an anthropological level, they're all looking to get involved in their community. They're all looking forward to meeting a friend. And there's so many. And another thing I think it helps is so many people, what is the number one complaint of every teenager? I'm bored.
Yeah.
Well, they got volunteer food banks. I mean,
oh my gosh, there's so much to do.
If you're bored, we want to make a list. In fact, we should start a thread just called "You Bored?"
Yeah.
And just every single place that you could volunteer, because they just need the little impetus, a little direction, little motivation. And next thing you know, that you got your 16-year-old kid volunteering on a food bank every Friday night. How cool would that be?
And it's something that those children will never forget.
Yeah,
they'll never forget it. It will serve them the rest of their lives. You probably hear the saying, when you do something charitable or give, it's going to come back to you tenfold, and so often it does.
You're involved in the Ahwatukee Chamber of Commerce.
Yes, yep.
So
correct.
Talk about that.
So the Ahwatukee Chamber of Commerce is great, especially for small business, really businesses from any size. It was one of the first things I did when I started up the Visiting Angels here in Ahwatukee, where I get to, you get to meet other local business owners, some small, some large. You get to network with them, learn about their businesses and how we can help each other out. And I've made so many connections through the chamber. It's just it's a great resource to get into.
And in fact, we both know one guy, Nick's Computer.
Yeah, yep.
You told me that he was what he told you about this show.
I believe I was pretty sure it was him that mentioned to me at one of the chamber meetings, and then as you mentioned earlier, you reached out, and now I'm here. It's just, and I've seen your videos and everything. It's just great what you're doing.
Well, it's kind of, I've been saying it for 30 years. I was born in Wichita, Kansas, where it had 280,000 people.
Yeah.
And that was the biggest city in Kansas.
Yeah.
The biggest city in Kansas isn't as big as Tempe. Now, there's Kansas City, Missouri, but that's really, the Chiefs and all that. It's a Missouri deal. But Ahwatukee is what I love about Ahwatukee is because of the mountain preserve, because of the Indian Reservation and I-10, and there's only 4 ways in this town: Elliott, Warner, Ray, and Chandler. It's really that town atmosphere.
It sure is. You can't beat the community atmosphere here.
Oh my gosh!
Beat it.
And you go up to other communities, like say you go to like an area that looks like Ahwatukee in like Glendale or Peoria.
Yeah.
But you got traffic of people driving through other cities, and it doesn't have that hometown feel.
It doesn't.
And if you're a Kansas boy and wanted to stay in a small town, Ahwatukee's your town.
It sure is. I met a family this morning that we met to start up services, and they've been here for 60 plus years. They were here when 48 stopped at Ray. And there's cotton fields out here. They've been here that long. And they're just so adamant about how much they love staying here. And how
I remember at least 10 times as it started expanding southwards, a patient came, "Do you ever see that shack on the side of the road by that cornfield? Do you ever wonder if anybody lives there?" And I'm thinking, she's my patient.
Yeah.
Of course someone lives there. And, and I think her dad started the farm 100 years before I got here. I mean, it was the farm was in the second or third generation. I mean, it's really come a long way. Yeah. So then this is Ahwatukee Uncensored. So that's where we talk about everything. So what does this cost?
So the cost varies. It's we work first and foremost from a caring perspective. So if we meet a family that maybe they're not in a position where maybe they can use YOPIS, the free services that are out there. Maybe they're in a position where they don't need us to that extent yet, or maybe they're even a family that they would probably be better off going to assisted living facility or a group home. Even though they may potentially be a client, they could be but they could be sold to work with us. we work first and foremost to do what's right for our family. Our rates are very competitive. I don't know if I want to say exactly how much, but we're definitely nowhere near the highest, because there are other companies out there. We're nowhere near the highest, and we're not the lowest. Some of the lowest out there, their caregivers are those contractors, and that's how they get away with a lower rate to their clients, because they're not paying for the insurances, the liability insurances, the bonded, the workers' comp, and things like that. So we're very competitive. We're maybe a little lower than the average, to put it that way.
But is it an hourly thing?
It's an hourly thing.
Oh, it's
yes.
an hourly thing.
Yep, hourly. Yep, it's based on the total number of hours per week.
So you're somewhere between a physical therapist and an attorney on an hourly rate?
No,
I was trying to be
lower than
funny.
the physical therapist. Yeah.
What?
Yeah, probably lower than the physical therapist.
Yeah?
Yeah.
And that's another thing. Like you said, usually when they call for your services, they should have called 5 months ago. So you're
Yes.
sitting there watching this at 3 o'clock in the morning because you have insomnia, and your doctor told you to get physical therapy, and you're sitting there eating aspirin and ibuprofen.
Yeah.
We're at the end of the day, we're all human.
Yeah.
I mean, we all know. I mean, every time I eat a cookie, I know I should not be eating a cookie. I mean, I'm not. I don't have.
They're so good.
Head injury. But yeah, we're all human. So we
Yeah.
have fear. We don't do what we're supposed to. It's been really fun getting on a lot of the physicians and chiropractors and physical therapists in Ahwatukee. So
This is great.
maybe she needs physical therapy, and she's like, I don't even know what that is.
Yeah.
And I remember talking to every single physical therapist that I podcast with. I said, well, what is physical therapy? And it's like, that's a great question, because most people don't even know what it is.
Yeah. Yep. And the physical, we have a great relationship with Spooner, right?
Yeah, podcast
there's,
them.
oh, you have already?
Absolutely.
Yeah, oh, great. Yeah, they're great. We take so many clients there, for their
Yeah.
physical therapy appointments. We do it.
Yeah, Spooner's fantastic.
Yeah,
And
it sure
what's so
is.
cool about, I mean, when I got out of school, it was an IBM mainframe. And then there was this new company making microcomputers running on micro software. That mainframe disappeared and went into a PC. And now it's even stronger, and it's in
more
your
powerful.
iPhone. So when you're thinking about, like physical therapy, and by the way, none of these are commercials. No one pays me. I didn't pay him. This isn't a commercial. This is a community.
Yeah.
And if you're sitting there thinking, well, you say you take so many people's Spooner. Well,
Yeah.
just watch the Spooner video, and then there you have
Yeah,
it.
there you
Now you
go.
know what it is.
Yeah,
now your only
wonderful.
decision is: do you Uber drive? Do you buy a driverless car?
Yeah.
Or do you get care? You know?
Yeah, absolutely.
So what is the difference between assisted living and group home
So
and nursing home? I mean, I just think
Yeah.
of nursing home.
Yeah, so assisted living is typically a larger facility where you're going in and you'll have an apartment, and you may have certain needs. Maybe you need help with bathing, or maybe you don't need that, but you need help with ambulation, going from your apartment to the cafeteria and things like that.
So ambulation is moving.
Yeah, just walking. Yeah, just
Walking.
moving around your environment. And typically, assisted living facilities, you can kind of pick and choose the level of care and what you need. A group home's a little different, where, as you mentioned earlier, it could be a residential property. You could be your neighbor. You may not know it. And you go in there, and typically those group homes are staffed with caregivers or a nurse, and you're basically living in that group home. And for example, it's a 4-bedroom home. There are 3 private rooms, and the master bedroom is a shared room. And you're there, and you have someone that's available 24/7 in that environment. And of course, you're not in your own home. You're in someone else's home, and you're there for whatever reasons.
It seems to me that the most concern I always ever hear is they just don't want to leave their home.
Yes,
That is
and
the main thing.
It's
probably fear of the unknown.
no, it's
You
not
have
even
your
that.
little-
No, what it is, Howard, is that where are you most comfortable?
Right here in my
In
home.
your own home. That's why one of the reasons why you do your podcast here, right?
Yeah.
You want to be in your own home. That's where you are most comfortable. And that's where, maybe you've lived in your home for 50 years. Why do you want to leave it? And
Now,
you know your neighbors.
after meeting my 3 of my 4 sons that live with me, would you consider this a halfway home, or or just a
Sanctuary, yeah.
little trashed bachelor pad? What would you call this place?
Nice.
But,
Nice. You are, folks. All the studies out there and the statistics show that you want to stay in your home. I know when I get to that stage, I'm going to have home care services because I want to be at home.
Yeah, every time something's happened to like my mom or one of my friends' mom, you know, like my mom just spent the night, just visited us last week, and I begged her. I said, "Why don't you move here?" You know, she's talking about the weather, the ice. I don't want her to slip, fall, break a hip. I'm 1.0 miles to Corpus Christi. I mean, it's 12 blocks.
Yeah,
for
you're
walk.
so close. It's right down the street.
No way.
Yeah.
She wouldn't leave Wichita, Kansas. You'd have to drag her out. I mean,
Well, if she has family, friends, and support there that keeps her social.
Yeah,
good.
That's her whole world.
Yeah, and you make up a good point there, because I could obviously, you love your mother very much. You're worried about her, thinking about her. One thing to note about larger home care companies like Visiting Angels is that we have 600 offices across the entire United States. Chances are, wherever you are, there's going to be a Visiting Angels office that services your area. We provide remote care, is what it's called, very frequently. I have several sons or daughters that live out in New Jersey, Chicago, etc., but mom and dad lives out here, and they're concerned about them. And we come in and provide that care, give that incredible peace of mind to the son or daughter. And how do you give the peace of mind to the care daughter? Do you have like a digital format, like? Great question. Yeah, we sure do. So one, they know that with home care services, you can 100% rely on us. You set up a schedule, and we're extremely flexible. We work around your desired schedule. We don't ask you to meet our schedule. So if you want care from 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. and then again from 5 p.m. to 8 p.m., we're going to do it. You tell us what you want, and we're going to make it happen. So that son or daughter that's in a different state can ask mom and dad, okay, well, what time would work best for you? Okay, they tell them. We work with them. We'll go visit with mom and dad to learn as much about them as possible. We do what we call a family assessment with every new family that we potentially will work with. And we're in that home answering any questions they may have. We're doing direct observation. We're seeing how well the individual gets up and out of their chair. We look for potential safety hazards that might be slip or trip fall hazards, like a throw rug or a rug in front of the kitchen sink. It's so common to see that.
Which is from your employment years when you were an engineer.
Yeah. My eyes are so peeled.
I mean, I can't believe how many times I heard she slipped on the throw rug around the toilet. It's like
one of the number one.
It's like, why do they still sell those things?
I know.
Remember when we were little and they came out with a 3-wheeler?
Yeah.
And it started. All it was
a monster wheel. Monster.
It was a 3-wheeler.
Big wheel. Is what it was called. Big wheels,
the motorized one.
Oh, yeah, okay. The 3-wheelers, normal.
The big 3-wheelers.
Yeah.
And it was making a quadriplegic, like, it started off like once a month, and it was like once a week. And finally, when it started making a quad every day, Congress said, no more. They literally banned it. I mean, they need to do that to throw rugs.
They do. Good
around
point.
Toilets. I mean, you don't want to decorate your toilet, decorate your front room, decorate your neighbor's front room in his house. But there are crazy.
Yeah, and it's one of the number one.
Tell them. I mean, I know my seniors, and you always know when you're a senior citizen. The official definition is when you now have insomnia and you find yourself watching
3 in the morning.
At 3 in the morning.
Yeah.
So that she's probably watching this video at 3 in the morning. Tell her what she needs to take out of her house.
Oh my gosh! So please remove any throw rugs, even if it's on top of your carpet. You can trip up and get bound by it and fall over in front of your kitchen sink. You want to get rid of those. You want to try to have as many flat surfaces as possible. So where you're going from a carpeted area to a tiled area, you want to try to have that as a flat surface as possible. You just want to keep your eyes peeled for trip and slip fall hazard. Another thing to really watch out for, does your mother have any pets?
Yeah, they
cat
trip over
or dog. You could trip over your cat, trip over your dog, especially the smaller dogs. They love to be around your feet.
But you can throw away a throw carpet, but how do you get
you just have to.
dog?
That's what I was saying, is that you have to be very conscious of that and just take that extra time to make sure that you're not going to trip over your pet. Another thing that may not sound so incredibly comfortable, but it's so common, I would say probably 70% of our clients have it, is a commode by your bed. So we've had so many clients.
What is a commode by your bed?
A commode where you can
a toilet?
Go to the potty right by your bed.
A lot of seniors have that?
Yeah, absolutely.
I did not know that.
It's such a
so they don't
safety
have to walk to
exactly.
the back.
You're waking up at 4 a.m. and it's dark out and you're half asleep and maybe you have trouble, walking, on your just under normal circumstances. So you're getting up in the middle of the night, you're half asleep, you have trouble walking to that bathroom. We've had so many clients fall because of that. Just put they're not that expensive. You can put a commode by your bed, use it, you just go from your bed and get right back into bed. And it's something that
So what does it look like? Just a chair?
It's like a chair with a little potty. Yep.
Huh.
Yeah, and there you can even get them at Walmart's. Get them online, Amazon. If you can pretty much get them anywhere. So
in your mind, from your employment years in the high tech, I mean, you can pretty much analyze and predict and model where they're going to fall. And what they don't realize is that when you fall down and break a hip, you might be thinking, well, it probably won't happen, and if so, they'll just fix it. Hip surgery is massive.
No, they are.
And a lot of people die
Yeah.
from their hip surgery.
You're so right, and that's why the older you get, the more serious a fall can become, obviously. And if you're in your 80s, 90s, and you fall and break your hip, yes, you may be able to get it repaired. What we see very often is that while you're in the hospital, your body weakens, and you're going to end up with pneumonia, and you're going to have very serious complications with pneumonia while you're trying to heal from your hip, from breaking your hip, and it just goes down a bad path.
And how many of those hips get staph infections?
Yeah, you're more prone to infections. The healing takes 3 times longer than you would expect. And it's going to sound a little grim, but we've had clients and have heard stories where an individual fell, and 2 weeks later, they passed away. Yeah, because it just led them down a very
I've seen that 100 times in the last 30 years. So or they went in for the surgery, but a week later, the hips all staph infected, and they died of a staph infection.
And so just the preventative side of things, you want to do everything possibly to talk to your mom, Howard's mom, do everything you can to prevent a potential fall.
I noticed you didn't say stairways.
Stairways. So seniors that have trouble ambulating, it always gives me. That's another thing that potentially would keep me up at night if I know they're using stairs and they're a fall risk. So there are lots of medical devices you can get out there, like the chair lifts and things like that.
Yeah, have you seen those in Ahwatukee?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, absolutely. And they're not as intrusive as you think to get them installed. They don't take up that much room, and they work really well. And I could give referrals to companies that install them. Some of them are even they're charitable.
I had a patient that retired from Hughes Electronic, and he was an engineer.
Oh, nice.
And he put that off here because even though he was a Hughes Electronic engineer for 30 years, he thought his stairway had to be straight, and his wasn't. Yeah. My God, they can snake up anything. Yeah. I mean, I don't. Yeah, they can. You're sitting there thinking, well, they couldn't do it on mine because they did.
They figure out.
They can do it. They can install that on anything. Yeah. Do you have any favorites on those?
No, not necessarily. Just as one of the reputable name brands out there. Not necessarily. But they are great. And as you hear about downsizing, right? You may have a larger home, and as you get older, sons and daughters move out of your home. Think about if you're going to downsize, just keep in mind that a single-story home is what you want to go for. Yeah. I know my next home, right? My home right now is a 2-story home, and everything that I know in this industry and about preventing injuries, I know my next home is going to be a single-story home. Yeah, and another thing about engineering mind, try to predict and model what is going to happen. Where are your high risk? I mean, obviously, people don't get ran over by a car standing on their back patio, as you're far more likely to be if you're standing in a four-lane intersection. But even me, at 55, my boys are 22, 24, 26, 28. I watch these highly athletic boys who wrestled for a decade, cross country, snow ski masters, almost break their neck 3 or 4 times in that room over there. No. So one day I called a contractor in Ahwatukee, and he said, well, all we have to do is get a load of cement. And I literally took everything out because this way I designed the house, all artsy fartsy. Yeah. Now the front room's this level, then this is this level, then the bedroom's that level, and there was this step, but it's all tile. Yeah. And you don't want to trip and fall and hit your head on a tile corner. Oh my gosh! No, so I just backloaded it. He warned me. He said, "Now I've done this for years. I mean, that's a lot of weight. And you just put a big cement 4-inch plug that's about 15 foot by 15 foot." He goes, "Someday this could sink." And I said, "What happened if that happens?" He said, "Well, we just
come add
Put
more
another-
cement,
put another-
another layer on it. But and I'm going to do that. I'm going to do that to my private office too, because
Okay, good.
and it's not just me. Like I'm saying, don't beat yourself up because you think, well, I'm not that bad. I'm still,
Yeah.
I can still walk and everything. My boys trip into
Yeah.
my office because they're walking across the floor and they're not expecting it to drop down 4 inches when you go into my office.
You get fall. We had it's such a serious issue, and the key thing is that you want to be proactive about it. Address it like you are or planning on before a fall happens.
And a thing that's out here in Arizona that I did not witness, I grew up in Wichita, Kansas, went to undergrad in Omaha, Nebraska, went to dental school in Kansas City, Missouri. It's this tile.
Yeah.
And I see seniors, I know friends that have tiled stairways.
Yeah.
My God,
yeah.
it's one thing to fall down a carpeted stairway, but
gosh.
really you're going to fall down a tile stairway?
Yeah, it could be really
I
bad.
mean, holy
Yeah,
moly.
yeah.
I mean,
And,
yeah.
and speaking of tile, going back to the pets thing, if your dog drinks water, on the tile, water on a tile is like stepping on ice. You can just slip in a second. So you just want to keep an eye out for that as well. That's something that we see with some of our clients where their pets are drinking their water right, maybe even in the middle of the kitchen floor. And there's just water all over the place, and that's just a serious slip and trip hazard. You just want to be proactive, look for those things. You may feel like you don't need it now or I'm fine. It just takes that one split second, and it can literally change your life. It really can, and lead you down a pretty
dark
bad
path.
Yeah, it sure can.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I cannot believe we went over an hour. We're in overtime now.
Went by real fast.
His website is Visiting Angels. His name is Steve Laskarides.
Close Laskarides.
Laskarides.
It literally is Greek, so it's a little hard to say, but it kind of rolls off your tongue.
So should they just call you Steve? Athens, Greece. So are you a Spartans fan? Since that's
I sure am. Yeah,
so
I sure am.
Do you still have many Greek traditions?
Some like Easter. I love to follow the Greek Easter traditions. You get the bread. There's a great a Greek bread that you get that has an Easter egg in the middle of it. It's super tasty. I love to do that, but not too much. Yeah, not too many.
I got to tell you the funniest Greek story I have.
No.
And first of all, did you find my big fat Greek wedding funny or racist towards
It
your,
was hilarious
towards your
because
tribe?
the first time I watched it, so funny story. I watched it with my mother, and my mother, she's half German, half Irish, but my father's 100% Greek. She went through a lot of the things to marry her Greek, my father, that you saw in that movie. I mean, she's like so similar. It was just hilarious.
So she liked it.
Yeah, it was hilarious. It was
Because
hilarious.
sometimes Italians think that like the Sopranos or the Godfather is racist towards their tribe, and other people
Yeah.
say, "Dude, it's all true."
Yeah.
So you know the Greek wedding was
It's
all true.
Yeah, true.
I got to tell you the funniest
Yeah.
Greek story in Ahwatukee. So I got a family they're Greek. They're 100% Greek.
Okay.
And the daughter made just a huge plate of baklava.
Yeah,
and
okay,
cooked up.
yeah. Oh, it's good stuff.
She was saying it was the cake pan was 2 feet by 1.5 feet.
Okay.
She made the whole thing. She was doing laundry, walking down or whatever.
Yeah.
And she walked in and it was all gone. And she like, what? And her big lab jumped up, ate the whole plate. Well, you know how many calories?
Oh my gosh, I'm sure that dog was sick.
She
Very
said he
sick.
laid there for 3 days.
Oh my gosh.
Couldn't even move.
Wow.
And, but she's absolutely convinced the dog will never eat baklava. But that is so tasty. And we have a.
Oh, it is.
Now, do you know the owners of Nero's Gyros?
No, I don't. I really don't.
If you have any Greek ancestry, you got to go there because
I'm gonna
the
go.
reason Nero's Gyros food is so good. It's because that Greek restaurant, they were born in Greece. The husband and wife. He was born in Athens.
Oh, okay.
She's born in Sparta. Ryan, we got to get them to come on the show. And the years and years eating lunch there, it was so amazing because when anything would come up in the news about Greece or thinking about history or this, that,
Yeah.
you ask either of them any question on ancient Greek back to any of Greek
history and
Greek history and all that. Like you could ask him about an intricate question about the Athens-Sparta War.
Yeah.
I mean they're walking encyclopedias.
Yeah,
and
that's
that
great.
food, all those recipes, that's what their parents cooked them while they lived in Greece. It is the real deal.
I'm going to go.
But hey,
I'm
thank
there.
you, Steve, so much
It's
for
a
spending
pleasure.
an hour of your time to come talk to my Ahwatukee homies. I'm sure they enjoyed it. And how do they contact you?
So you can contact me through our website. You can give us a call.
VisitingAngels.com.
Yep, absolutely. And I think Ryan's going to put up some of our banners and information. All our contact information is there. I would encourage you to go to visitingangels.com. There you can find a lot of information about our services, and what we're out here to do is helping our seniors first and foremost. And if you remember it, my email is super easy to remember. It's simply stevell@visitingangels.com.
Steve L at visitingangels.com. And remember,
Correct.
if you're tripping over that dog, it's time to trade him in for a goldfish.
There you go.
On that note, have a
Thank
rocking
you,
great
Howard.
day.
Yeah, thank you very much. It's been a pleasure.